Well, I met Harry in St. Louis. Oh, let's see, I was about 40 years old, so that had to be 30 years ago, 1970. And he came into a restaurant where I was working. I was a dining room manager at a restaurant in St. Louis. A few weeks later, I had some friends from St. Louis who had taken me to dinner to another restaurant. And we were sitting around a piano bar, and Harry came in after one of the ball games and asked the manager of that restaurant who I was, or who my friend was. She was a beautiful blonde, and he said, "Oh, no," he said, don't, she's married to that guy sitting over there. And he said, but her friend is not married. So Harry came over, he started talking to us, and after that, the rest is kind of history.
At first, actually, I didn't know who Harry was. I'd always followed baseball, but by that time he was in Chicago, and we were still Cardinal fans in St. Louis. And 6 years old, I didn't know really who Harry was. And actually, when they first started dating, I was a little leery of this guy because at that time in my life, my mom was single, and I never really knew my real father. And for this guy to come in kind of into our life at that point was a little bit shaky for me. I didn't really like this guy coming in and trying to take over my mom. But as time went on, we became a family. You know, Harry was not so much a father, but a guy that really looked after you and cared about you and would direct you in the right ways, where Mom was more the disciplinarian. I describe my mom as a very loving perfectionist. I mean, she'll do anything in the world for her children, her grandchildren, her brothers, her sisters, her friends. As with any mom, she expects things out of her children. I mean, I remember cutting the grass. You had to cut the grass as a kid the right way. You know, she'd give you that statement, if you're not going to do it the right way, don't do it at all. But she was a wonderful person. I mean, you know, as far as your mom always being there, she was there as much as she could. You know, as I get older, and I think as all my brothers and sisters get older, we realize that the sacrifices she made when we were children, when she was alone raising the 5 of us by herself, we always had food on the table. We always had someone looking, you know, we had nice clothes on our backs. Sometimes it amazes me that she was able to do that by herself. Of course, when she met Harry, that burden, I'm sure, became a little easier, but I'll never forget what she's done for us, especially through my younger years and my brother and sister's younger years. You know, she worked morning, noon, and night.
His life was baseball, and it evolved and involved everything around baseball. That's what we did, and he just loved the game. All of our friends were involved in baseball, and there really wasn't anything just the two of us ever did together. We went on trips, but we took all the baseball players with us. The night that he went down in that restaurant, I was walking out the door. I usually walked out the door, and Harry might come in 10 minutes after me, you know, and I was just waiting for him to get through the crowd. And so my friend and I had started out the door, or started toward the door, and somebody said, "Oh, Harry went down." And I'm like, "Harry went down? What are they talking about? He just got up to acknowledge the crowd." And I turned around, and Harry was on the floor, and he was bleeding, his face was all cut, and I didn't know what happened. I didn't see it happen. But what happened was the table was not connected to a pedestal that night, the tabletop. And when he got up, he must have leaned on the table too hard, and it went down, and Harry went back and lost consciousness after that, and that was the end. The ambulance, of course, came, and they put him on life support. Unbeknownst to me, I really didn't know exactly what was happening. And after I'd been to the hospital and stayed there for about an hour and a half, they told me to go home and get some rest. And They kind of warned me not to get my hopes up too high, and don't despair because, you know, he could regain consciousness. But the next day and the day after that, I knew that, you know, he was really, they really let me know that Harry he would have been a vegetable had he lived. He wouldn't recognize anybody. He wouldn't know me. He wouldn't know anyone. So I left him on life support for a couple of days till his children could get out there to see him and make a decision with me, because I didn't want to be the only one to say that, you know, he should be taken off life support. I wanted his children to help make that decision. And of course, when they saw him, they knew that he had to be taken off life support. When you went anywhere into a room and Harry was in there, and if the television wasn't on, you knew something drastic was wrong. So the kids went in and the television wasn't playing and he was just not there.